You are here with your host, Lauren Smith. I'm back on air. I'm sorry for the hiatus. I will do a catch-up show to catch you guys up on everything that I've been up to. Mostly it's been work, and more work. So unfortunately, Night Callers had to go on the back burner for a little bit, but I am back. I have someone who has graciously decided to help me out and round up some guests for me and help me with scheduling, because that is the part of Night Callers that is the hardest, is finding amazing guests for you guys to have on, for you guys to listen to. So tonight, I actually have an amazing guest who's a friend of mine, Stephen James and his wife, Jennifer. They are going to come on and talk about Cryptid Connections and Stephen's projects that he's working on, his research, his experiences. I believe Logan Craft is in the chat, and he's going to be helping out as my moderator, as he usually does, but then also he'll chime in about the show. So if you are in the live chat tonight, you get a special treat. Okay, so I'm not going to waste any more time. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up, subscribe, like, follow, do all the things. And here we go. All right. Hey, Stephen and Jen, how are y'all doing tonight?
Hey, Lauren.
Hi. Pretty good. How about yourself?
Fabulous. I am fabulous. I have to talk about the weather because it's my thing. It's like all the seasons have shifted. Have y'all noticed that? It's like used to it'd be rainy in March and April, and now it's snowy in March and April, and it's rainy in May. And it's putting a crimp in my summer plans. A lot. Also my researching plans, because it's hard to research in the rain.
I wish we could say the same. Unfortunately, it's been pretty hot here. Today was the first day in a bit that it got a little bit wet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I forgot you guys live in West Texas, right?
The desert.
The desert. Oh man. So, Stephen, you research in Oklahoma and Texas.
Right.
So is that why you research in Oklahoma and Texas? Because you have to get to a place where there's actually trees and...
Yeah, pretty much. There's
Yeah.
it's a minimum of about a 6.5, 7 hour drive to any of our research areas.
Yeah. I feel that very much. My area, I'm surrounded by meth heads and cows, and so I have to drive a minimum of 2 to 3 hours to get to anywhere worth researching as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So the chat is up and running. We have Mr. Logan Craft in the chat supporting you, obviously. He said dirt and boot scorpions is all that you have there. No Bigfoots.
That's actually very true. Well, I don't know. According to Ken last weekend, we've got some out in this area, but they're very few and far between.
Yeah. Where I'm from in Altus, Oklahoma, there have been reports over there, and it's very flat, prairie, desert looking. But we've had reports over there, a lot of them. So, I mean, I guess they can be anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get this started. So I have your bio, and I'm going to let you tell your story and your experiences. But I had the privilege of meeting you at the Texas Bigfoot Conference a few years ago. And I had heard that you were this way or that way. And then when I met you, you're very methodical, you're very thorough, and you're very skeptical, which are great traits for a Bigfoot researcher. So Stephen is an IT guy. Like, he's got that brain, right? So what got you into Bigfoot? Because if I hadn't met you through Bigfoot, just meeting you in person, I would have never in a million years thought that this is something that you would be interested in.
It traces back to an experience I had in Northern California in 1996. My first wife and I were camping in just at the base of Lewiston Dam, and we had kind of a run-in. We were the only the campground we'd stayed in was not officially open yet. It was still like a week before the season actually opened. So we were the only ones in the campground, and we had gone out to eat dinner, and then we came back, and we got there probably about 10:30, and our campsite was trashed. Everything had been gone through. The food and the coolers, things like that, had not been touched. But the tent, we had a little one of those 4-man dome tents, and the tent had been turned upside down, and literally everything was dumped out of it. The sleeping bag was still hanging out of the door. The tent was upside down, that kind of thing. And that made my first wife, Heller, it made her kind of nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And she decided that we should just pack up and probably go get a hotel for the night. She didn't know who was in the area.
Good call. I would have done the same.
And so while we were packing, I was pulling stuff out, blowing up sleeping bags, doing that from the tent. And I was handing them to her, and she was running and tossing them in the back of our Explorer. And we did 3 or 4 trips like that. And then the next thing I know, I've got this extremely stressed out kind of a voice asking me to please get in the car as fast as I possibly can. And, and that was, we had discussed before, if she saw a bear, or if we ran into a cougar, something like that, something that made her nervous, I told her to get in the car and, just let me know, and I would get in the car with her.
Because you told me she has not.
Oh yeah, she had
this lifestyle. It was new to her.
She was a child of Texas and had no camping or anything like that. This was a big thing.
Right.
Anyway, we got into the car, or I got in the car rather. She was already in there, and she was just scared white, shaking, and just telling me to start the car, drive, leave. And I started. I kept asking, "What's going on? Did you see something?" And she was like, "It was huge. It's big. Get me out of here. Get me out of here." It's kind of thing she's going. She's just having a breakdown, kind of a thing. She's barely holding on. And so, like any good-natured man, I sat there. I turned the keys on. I start the car. I put the headlights on. They go on bright, and I proceed to do a donut. I go a 360 all the way around because I want to see what maybe she saw.
Yeah.
That proceeded to get me a beating. I mean, she just went forward hysterics. I was not getting out of this campground fast enough. And, it was for the next, I think it was like a 2-hour drive. I remember it being a 2 to 3 hour drive, but on Google, it's about, I think, an hour and a half. I don't know. But in the situation, we had to drive all the way out of the mountains in Northern California, all the way down to Redding. I had to get her into the valley before she'd calmed down enough to let us get a hotel. So we pulled into Motel 6, I guess, around 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And she finally was able to sleep some. The next day we went back, and she just wouldn't even really get out of the car. I'm just grabbing all of our stuff that we'd left and everything and putting it up. But one thing she did say was that she remembered it was something, squatting over by this one particular tree. It was the only tree anywhere remotely near our campsite. Our campsite, it was like a very large sandbar was where the all the sites were for this campground, and the very few trees on it was next to the river. And there was this one tree we'd been parked maybe 10 feet from, 15 feet from, And she remembered what had caught her eye was as she was getting out of the vehicle from throwing stuff in it, in the corner of her eye, she saw movement because something had stood up. She said it stood up, turned around, and walked off. But she remembered it ducked its head under a branch. And the next day, when we were there, I looked at that branch. It was the only branch, it was the lowest branch on that tree. But that branch was out of reach of me by about a good foot or so, which would make it about 8.5 feet, maybe 9, but I think it was 8.5. And bears don't do that. They don't get up on 2 legs and turn around.
No.
My parents raised me. I've been out in the woods most all my life and everything else. I've had my run-in with animals. Standing on 2 legs, ducking a branch, and walking off is not the description of a bear.
No, and then that tall also. That's
yeah. I mean, she was fairly level-headed. She didn't freak out.
Yeah.
She was, for her to do this was very unlike her. I had never seen her like that before or since. And so, But that's what got us interested. We were actually on our way back from finding a place to stay in Seattle. We were
Mm-hmm.
going back down to my parents in San Francisco to really just go get our stuff and then come back up. And it took us maybe 6 or 7 months after we gotten up to Seattle before she finally was willing to consider that maybe what she saw was a Bigfoot. And it was only because she could not figure out else it could possibly have been.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you at that time, what was your first inclination? What did you think it was? Or, you know, did you immediately jump to Bigfoot or did you just kind of.
No, I genuinely thought she saw a bear until I saw in the daylight what our situation
Mm-hmm.
actually was. I just assumed we probably had a bear or something. I mean, it could have been,
Yeah.
a bear, a person, something like that. But with her remembering it had to move, she remembered its head ducking when it turned around
Mm-hmm.
to go around that branch. When I saw how tall the branch was,
Yeah.
that ruled most everything out. I'm sorry, it was way over Ryan's head.
Yeah. I mean, not very many things are, but the ones that are, you got to imagine how big that is and how scary it
Yeah.
is. Um, yeah, that would be enough to because like I said, you're very skeptical and methodical and everything, and that makes for a really good researcher, but you're also very inquisitive. I've hung around you enough to know that you ask good questions, you're very inquisitive, so I could see that definitely spawning some curiosity to kind of launch you into this.
I don't
um,
I don't give things up. I get
no.
like a bulldog. I just start grabbing onto it, and I'm like, I got to keep poking at it till I figure something out.
The word is stubborn.
Very stubborn. Yeah.
The word is stubborn. I've gone to eat with you at restaurants, I know.
Oh,
Goodness. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
thank you, Lauren.
However, that wasn't gumbo. I know that was
No,
not gumbo. We
that
can
was
both
not
agree
gumbo at
that
all.
was like Chef Boyardee with a twist.
Oh, it was disgusting.
A lot of so many people there talk themselves into saying it was a bear. As humans, our first inclination is to talk ourselves out of seeing something out of the norm. I've done it. My mom's done it. Like I know hardcore seasoned researchers who have done it. Your first inclination. That's why they tell you the first thing you do if you have a sighting is try to write everything down, because your brain is going to start trying to take care of itself and protect itself, and it's going to start saying, well, maybe it was only 6 foot tall, or maybe it was a bear. So in the chat they said definitely that was not a bear. So that's sorry, I'm trying to look at the chat. Yeah, that would definitely be enough to pique my curiosity, I think. So what happened next? I
Well,
mean, did you.
after we settled in Seattle, started going to school. Like I said, 6 or 7 months later, I actually kind of got dragged into it. She was the one who, this was the mystery. She's like, only meth heads see Bigfoot. That was her opinion. I mean, she was small town Texas, Baptist raised kind of a thing. Just you can't get more. I hate to say it,
Yeah.
but urban white bread than my first wife,
Yeah.
and very conservative, and it really nagged her, and so she kind of led the way, and we ended up. I got dragged into going to a couple of BFRO meetings with her. She got online, she started talking to people, and I was just kind of being supportive. It was kind of interesting, but not 100%. Okay, let's see. I was convinced it was going to be weirdos.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
we ended up meeting some very good people. In
Mhm.
fact, we ended up kind of forming up a team for a while, and the BFRO coordinator for the area that we were working with at the time was a guy named Jeff Limley, and the partner he was working with was a guy named Rick Knoll. And so us and Rick and Jeff ended up working all over Skamania and that area down in Gifford Pinchot. And we ended up being the ones who started scouting out the Skookum region, the Skookum Meadow region.
Okay.
So uh, anybody who knows anything about the Skookum Meadow incident and everything else, whether you believe what it was or not,
Mm-hmm.
we had been working with them for probably 2 seasons, 2 years with that, and we had to go ahead and decide to move back to Texas, and so we decided the week before the film crew and everybody came out that all of that happened on, we decided that was going to be when we moved to Texas. And so we missed being on Legend Meets Science by 1 week. And it was purely because we kind of figured it would not make anybody look any good. I mean, we'd seen Bigfoot documentaries. We knew what how
Yeah.
people came across. And so we figured, our careers could probably maybe lose that one. And that was a big
Yes.
mistake. We admit it. We admitted it not very long after we drove down. I mean, we were like, oh hell.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but yeah, then we got down here to Texas, and I can tell you, there's no Bigfoots on the east side of the Rockies. That's exactly what our opinion was. We didn't, just
Mm-hmm.
had no idea of anything until we got down here, and we actually saw. I can't remember if it was the first or the second Bigfoot Texas conference that Craig had. And it was back in 2001, I'm going to say. May have been 2002, but it was one of the early ones. And we went out to there, and I was just like, I wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure. I mean, people were saying all this, and I'm like, we're in Texas. It just can't be. And after that point, we had a baby. She had medical problems, and we ended up dropping everything. We ended up dropping everything for about 15 years before I got back involved, really. So it was about 2015 that I started getting back involved out here in Texas, and I actually started paying attention to what people were saying out here.
Okay. Your story sounds kind of like my mom's. She met people through the internet also, and then got into it that way, and then started researching out with different groups. And it's just so funny because we came from a generation of don't talk to strangers, and now all these strangers from across the United States are my best friends, and my family. So I don't know. I think that's interesting. But I'm sorry you didn't get to be on Legend Meets Science.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, no, it's just fine.
So what did you think of that evidence? I mean, you said whether people believe it's real or not. I mean, do you...
Honestly, I'm probably more on the elk side on that one. Honestly. Okay. I really am. But that being said, I know Rick, and I know Rick does very first-rate good work, and very impeccable. There is no chance of hoax, in my opinion. That wasn't a intentional thing. I know how Rick works. That I can see the scenario. I kind of know where they were. Yeah. I think it's more likely an elk though, with everything else that's in it and all that, and so.
Okay.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
You know me. I'm going to be conservative on that, and so.
Right.
You got to remember, I'm the guy that stood up at the Bigfoot conference a couple of months ago, and I said, "Okay, this is the last time you're going to hear the word Bigfoot." Yeah. We don't talk about Bigfoot when we're talking. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you were very honest. I mean, you were. So I have to be completely honest. I was given some photos to share tonight, and because I value your friendship, I'm not going to. But and then he said Bigfoot right after you did.
Was Logan the person that provided the photos?
I plead the fifth.
Yeah.
Well, I had asked a certain person for photos of you to use in tonight's show or for the presentation for tonight's show, and that person got back to me and informed me that they only had pictures of you sleeping for some
Yeah,
reason.
that's Logan.
So
Hobby of his.
I was going to share these and use
You can
it,
go ahead.
you know, like I said, you know, you're a very diligent researcher, very evidence-based, very scientific, and also you're very diligent about your self-care. Um, you know that self-care is very important to bigfooting, and that you have to sleep and get caught up on your sleep so that you can research all night.
It's
And
the
that
one
means
where
that
I'm
you
sitting
have to
there and then
sleep.
you know,
And that means you have to sleep in the car and
I
at
can
the
fall asleep
restaurant
anywhere.
and in your camp chair. And I have so many pictures
I
of
get
you
in the
sleeping.
field and I get tired. You know, I mean, it's, we do stuff. We don't just sit and camp all day. And
Meanwhile, if Logan is with us or whoever else, we're just kind of sitting staring at Steven while he's enjoying himself.
Evidently, I just sit there and snore at the campfire half the time.
Okay.
So, you know, I mean.
Steven.
Oh. You see, even Janelle is saying it's a true story.
Steven is so dedicated to Bigfoot that he only wakes up for activity. You know?
That's right. All the rest is not important. And
I mean, you're conserving your energy for those important moments of analysis.
That's right.
Okay. So you have a website called Cryptid Connections.
Yeah. No.
And
Connection.
Cryptid Connection. No S. Please remember that, everybody. It's very important. So tell me about how you kind of formed your own group.
Well, back in the old days, back around 2019,
Mm-hmm.
I figured I'd try to give I actually, what I had was I was very frustrated with Facebook and most of the Bigfoot groups that were out there. It was a social club. I still stand by that. Bigfoot is a social club. It's very, very difficult to actually find people who are really trying to diligently and hardcore research something. And so I kind of figured, well, I can't possibly be the only person. And so I built a website. The idea was I was essentially going to try to make something similar to Facebook, but it would be entirely cryptid oriented and just a place for people to get together, talk, do whatever. I put some resources on it. We were posting blogs on it. I had updated lists constantly of new cryptid themed shows, podcasts, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Logan got involved, Jennifer got involved. We got a recipe pipe, for camp recipes and stuff called Cook's Corner.
I love that so much.
It was entirely going to be just this and this, camping gear reviews. Everything, anything and everything. And it never took off. It still exists, and it's still there, but it's still waiting for a good, diligent people to actually go in and kind of make it their own. And so I openly invite it. Now, at the same time, we'd started a podcast by the same name. And the idea was we were just going to interview the researchers and talk about the
sounds familiar
doing it. Yeah, it does sound familiar, doesn't it? And we ended up making it through about 36 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just realized there was not a damn thing worth talking about anymore. I felt like I covered it all. There was nothing new. And this is right in the middle, towards the end of COVID, 2021. The whole world's melting down. Everybody's hating everybody else. The whole thing around. And honestly, at the time, um, we, Logan and I and Jennifer had been over a year at a new site and new location, and we just weren't getting squat. We thought we should be.
You mean squatch?
Well, yeah, we
We're
weren't
getting
getting squatched. Okay, that was bad. Okay,
You're welcome.
uh,
That was, I
uh,
loved it.
it,
loved
it's just, and so honestly, it was kind of I was dejected, and I was just like, and then because of COVID, work really picked up. Like you mentioned before, I do IT. I do IT for government and police agencies, and we were really, really, really busy. And that just kind of, next thing I know, I looked at it and I was like 6 months from an episode, and I was just like, I've got to get back into it. And then I'm like, twice, I'll be honest, twice I thought I was going to get an interview, and I went to approach someone only to find out that you had interviewed them like within the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You did this to me twice. And I was like, there is absolutely no way I'm going to interview someone who just was on another show within the last couple of weeks. That's ridiculous. That's redundant.
But you bring something
Thank you,
else
Lauren.
to the interview.
No, I don't.
You do.
Have a critique.
Everybody has their own thing. Each interviewer has
It
their
might be.
own
Now,
thing that they
you
bring
are
out
correct
of the
about
guest.
that. One thing that I like to do, and I was very big on our show, was I refused to give ourselves a time limit.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
I have some interviews that are 3 and 4 hours long, where I'm just letting you, they're talking, we're getting I mean, what I wanted to do was in a way to be like the Charlie Rose of Bigfoot. I wanted to just let someone just open up and go.
Yeah.
And we did that. We did that with several different people. And then some guests, honestly, hey, 1 hour, that was all we needed. But, other guests, there were, I remember I had Steven Stroifert on one time. And that was, to me, the longest episode I've ever had. He wasn't the longest on the released episode. We recorded for maybe 3, maybe 4 hours on the episode.
Yeah.
But then it was the 5 to 6 hours after the episode that Stephen and I kept up talking. That was afterwards. A similar thing with Jim Whitehead and
Jim can talk.
Yeah, and Darren and Darren Lee. Shelly Montana could talk a lot.
She can talk. Yeah.
Yep. And
very knowledgeable.
I let them go. All of these people, I would just sit there and I would let them go. And
I learned a lot about.
Yeah. And now our earliest episodes, they were a labor of love. Our very first one actually had Brandon Garrett.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I think I remember that.
Brandon is very amusing on that episode. He was a good friend and came on and we visited, and then we've had several other, we started out with people we just knew that were fellow squatchers, and from there we started branching out. But there are some really, I'd say, especially since episodes 17, 18, maybe. No, actually, maybe about 20. The mid to later episodes, most of them I'm really proud of. I've tried to get good and interesting people. And so
everybody needs to go check that out.
At some point, the show is not done, but we need to figure out a new gimmick. Jennifer and Logan have desperately been wanting us to go and expand our topics.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I just don't know how. So I understand it does. It's just they need to run the ball with that one. I will sit there and support and everything else. I just don't know.
Well, I mean,
that,
there's so on that note, you said that you decided you were just going to interview Bigfoot researchers. So I've been doing that for over a decade now. And
Yeah, I know.
you are my 335th interview,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay. So, everybody, my people, I love every interview that I have. I learn something. Every single interview, I learn something from the guest. Every interview is interesting. However, I've been in the game for 20 years now, and we've advanced in some ways. Technology has advanced us, different things that we've learned. It's been great. But within the last 10 years or so, I feel very much like we have been spinning our wheels. And not very much makes my little inner Bigfoot researcher perk up and go, ooh, and get excited, right? So I have to tell you, people, I was honored to be a guest and speaker at the Mid American Bigfoot Symposium in Stillwell, Oklahoma, right along with Stephen James there. And I did my presentation, great, whatever. Stephen's presentation actually, it, he is onto something that made me sit up and get excited about research again. It made me sit up and feel like we are on to something. We are finally about to move forward. This is really exciting. Like, I was really excited. So, without further ado, I'm going to let Steven jump into that because you guys, he's on to something that is actually new and exciting and effective. So, I will let you begin. Try to keep it in layman's terms
I'll try.
so that
Well,
people
first
don't
off,
look like you in
I'm
that
still,
picture
I'm
below.
gonna say that I've been doing this long enough that there's absolutely no way I can be the first person to have tried this. I may be the first squeaky wheel, but um, I've had several times where we've come out with stuff that I swore I was the first person to do something with, only to find out that someone somewhere or the other was barking up a similar tree. So
Right.
I will not. I am not laying claim to being unique or anything like that. I just want to say that. What you're talking about is ecoacoustics, or some people call it acoustic ecology. Uh, Ever since 2015, I've been dealing with audio. That's been my that was the thing I really did. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. That's the thing that I really gravitated to. It made sense with my computer background and everything, and I just audio is an easy thing for me to work with and understand. Uh, it was my second time doing a presentation at Mid America, and I needed a new topic, and I couldn't come up with one. It was the exact same problem I had with the show. I mean, that kind of a thing. It's just like there's just nothing new here. And well, I mean, we had a. I wanted to avoid just going up there and Logan and I giving an update. Oh, this is what we've been doing for the last year or two, and I wanted something more. And so I figured, well, I can just always go back and do audio. And so I started doing some research, and I started going into some areas I hadn't looked at before. Everybody is familiar with going out in the woods, dropping a recorder off, recording overnight, recording 3 or 4 days, whatever you do, taking it home, putting it in the spectrogram, looking to see if you can find any animal you don't recognize, or at least you can't identify. And that's been state of the art in Bigfoot for a long time. No one evidently has been paying attention to the real science community and what they've done with the audio recording.
No.
In 2015, I believe it was, they actually the discipline of acoustic ecology or ecoacoustics was actually established and recognized in the ecology world, in the wildlife biology world. What it does is it's starting out the same way that we all do. You're going out there and you're recording the environment.
Right.
The computers and the technology have finally come to the point where we can start pulling some information out of that no one in Bigfoot has talked about.
Right.
Ecologists are literally going out there. They're recording the entire soundscape, all of the animals out there, let's say for a 24-hour period. We now have the ability to take that, dump it onto a computer system, run it through algorithms, and have it recognize every animal sound on that recording. It will identify the sounds. We can break it down. I mean, if you have multiple recorders, it's even giving you the option of breaking down individuals of the same species.
That's amazing.
There is, and you know, I'll send you the link here in a little while.
Okay.
There is one study. It was done not too long ago. I think in 2021, maybe 2022, out of Denmark, and they were tracking wolves out there because they had just started finally coming back in from Germany and everything else. They'd been gone since, I think they said 1813 or something like that, from the area. And they were using the recordings to be able to track the population, and they were actually able to differentiate subspecies and individuals. They tracked like 6 Eurasian wolves and like 10 Northwestern wolves, something like that. But they could differentiate them by subspecies. So they knew which one was making which call, and they knew which individual was making those calls. So they could track them over distance. They knew what regions they were going to. Other researchers in Australia and in the United States have been following a similar example, but they've actually been looking at live tracking, so that when they're in the field, their recorders pick up the audio, and you have your algorithm, your program set to a target, you know, whatever species you're looking for, target calls. And it doesn't have to be the same species. You can have 4, 5, 6 different species. It doesn't matter. But you can get real-time geolocation of where those calls originated.
So for all of you that just sat through what he just said and you're like, what does this have to do with us? This is the part where you really need to start paying attention, because this is the part that made me sit up and say, this is a game changer. This is something that we can focus on that is tangible. It's happening. It's in the scientific community, so therefore it's accepted, right?
Yes.
This is something, this is a game changer.
There
I am
is-
so excited.
There is current research papers that are recently published within the last 3 or 4 years detailing exactly how to do this. There, and we're talking about off-the-shelf technology that we have. They are collaborating. There are several different groups of researchers on the internet that are doing public cloud, like well, not cloud funded, but rather crowdsourced research efforts, because what they're doing is they're asking people to go out and make the recordings, because what they're doing is they're looking to get real-time population density, presence, everything on all of our different ecosystems that are around. They're trying to figure out what animals are out there, in what numbers, at what time of year. Yeah. This is something they haven't really been able to do. Most of the time, people go out and they have to eyeball it. You know, they're out there with a camera. Now, I want to say this. This started with the bats and the birds. It was birders and the bat people who really pushed.
The birders.
Yeah, and it went from there. It went to mammals and amphibians.
I'm telling you, birders are a Bigfooter's best friend, and we just like. I feel like they're the best kept secret of Bigfoot research, because
I think you're right. They're obsessive.
They're so smart. Like my mom, for instance, I downloaded the app that you mentioned during the presentation. There's an app in which it's Cornell app, and you can record live bird calls, and it will tell you what that bird is. It'll tell you where it is, and it'll show you pictures, and it'll pop up different calls and songs by that same bird, which is freaking fabulous. Like, I'm freaking out over that alone. Not to mention your stuff.
Yeah, that's the tip-of-the
Exactly.
iceberg.
But my mom, I sent it to her and I said, "Oh, I found out that this one bird that I was hearing is a tufted titmouse." And she's just like, "Yeah." She's like, "I already knew that." She has this internal, like, she's been doing this for so long that she knows all the birds already. She doesn't even need an app. And I'm just like she's I don't know what bird a bird person, ornithologist? No. What are they called?
Ornithologist.
Ornithologist. I was so close. A birdologist. She's not quite a birdologist, but she knows so many already. So I shared that app with her, and it is Bird Spotify. Basically, it is Bird Spotify. It is amazing. And so anyway, it ties into what Steven's going to talk about. But just imagine real time location of something doing a call. That is what we're trying to get
That
to.
is exactly what we're talking about. You see, here's the thing. This is scientifically accepted and proven. We're not talking about anything new. And you run into the problem of you can't prove a negative. So if you don't have a baseline identified, call for something like Bigfoot, let's say, you can't say you recorded Bigfoot. But you can say you recorded the owls, you recorded the birds, you recorded the coyotes, the dogs, anything that makes a sound in the woods. And then they have already noticed that there are a lot of calls out there. They don't know what it is. And it's not just one species, it's several.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the groups that I'm trying to work with right now, we're still in the setup phase of getting our equipment together to do this and everything on it. So we haven't started submitting audio yet for this. But one of the groups that are there, they have identified 3,800 new species in the last 2 or 3 years, just from audio. And it's they didn't they didn't know they were there.
Yeah.
They've got literally millions of hours. One second, I want to quote this correctly. I want to quote this correctly. So
it's insane. It's an amazing premise. And it's not a premise anymore. It is happening.
Yeah,
this is an actual thing that's happening.
Yeah. We've got right now, there are currently 3,425 different individual projects around the world. We have had 885,367,785 analyses already performed. We've had 114,990,755 recordings uploaded. And we've had 3,451 species identified now.
That's crazy.
And that is all off of audio.
That's a game changer. I mean, that
is a game changer.
Imagine all the audio that the hundreds of thousands of researchers have sitting around that
they are specifically wanting people to upload audio of things that they can't recognize.
Yes. So
now here's the problem.
We need you.
Here's the problem. This is real science. You can't hide where your recording was from.
Yeah.
You have to tell all of your data. You have to tell when, what, where, who, and why.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to record it in a specific format. It has to be WAV. You can't do it with most of the little pocket recorders that we have. You're going to probably have to get an $80 or $100 recorder. But if you get that, you can record all you want. They suggest 24-hour periods. And they prefer a couple of days per season is the average, is what they want. And they like 3 or 4 times a year, because that allows them to examine what wildlife is present during those seasons and those times.
Yeah.
And obviously, the more you do this end of the valley, and then 1,000 feet over, you do another recorder, and then 1,000 feet over, you do another. And with that information, they can get an entire listing of all the present animals that have vocalized, and everything vocalizes.
Yeah.
So It's when they come across a vocalization that the computers don't register.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're looking for. Can't say it's Bigfoot. We don't know what it is. But
Yeah.
you build that case of we have evidence because
Mm-hmm.
all of your other animals are legit and they know it. It's recognized. So it can't invalidate the animal that they don't recognize. Now, 8 times out of 10, when they look at it, further analysis, what you didn't recognize, they're going to end up finding and saying, no, that's actually this or that.
Right.
People who don't work with audio don't really understand that a spectrogram does not lie. Assuming your equipment is good, it doesn't lie. It's going to reflect the vocals that are made by your vocal cords or any animal's
Hoaxers beware.
vocal cords. That's right. Um, you can take an actual elk call and then you can take a hunter's elk call
Mm-hmm.
that's mimicking it, and they may sound the same to your ears. You will identify it without question on a spectrogram.
Yeah.
And so, it's just, oh, actually, that's fresh.
Mm-hmm.
One of the sites that I was referring to and everything else is actually a group out of the UK. There's a lot of stuff out in the UK for this. So, but I'm sorry, I just saw that.
It's okay. You're good. The link that you sent me, the Arbamon.
Arbamon, that is that one group, and
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the one that I've been the most impressed with.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's just, but the ability to go out there into a research area and record in real time and get within about a 20 square foot estimation of the source of that sound because because you're triangulating it. I mean, this is not a new technology. This is the exact same thing that submarines have been doing for years with sonar.
Yeah.
Right. It's just now we finally gotten to where we can apply it and the average Joe can get it. Someone had made the comment earlier that, yeah, if you had governmental budgets, you could afford this. That is not the case anymore. Right. You a couple $100 and you've got it.
Honestly. Yeah. So tell us about how you would go about getting the data to get set up on this and the equipment to get set up to do this.
What you need, most of your recorders that are just off the shelf, the low end ones like the Olympuses or the Sonys, things like that, most of them won't work. You need to have what's called a lossless format on the audio. That's going to be something like a WAV file. Okay. Most people are going to sit here and that have played with this. They're going to have taken their recordings and you're going to put it in Audacity so you can look at your spectrogram, okay, and examine it. You notice when you upload from the video, then you drag it over to Audacity. Audacity converts it. It takes like a minute or two to convert that file and put it in Audacity. That's because it's taking your MP3 file that your recorder recorded, and it's converting it to a WAV file format that it can work with. If you recorded natively in WAV, you would not have that happen. And MP3 literally cuts out half of the sounds. It cuts out the sounds that are beyond human hearing, and it samples them. It literally is dicing it up in such a method that your ears don't tell the difference, but the data does. You have to record in a WAV. No one likes to record WAVs because they are huge hogs on memory. I mean, we're talking a couple of gigabytes per hour. That's the problem. But if you have a recorder that'll do it, then you can do it. There are people on this Arbamon that are loading up terabytes of data. So
it's worth it though. I mean, if we can have, like, let's just say Southeast Oklahoma, a specific place that you guys research. I mean, if we can recognize all the species, and I mean, yes, you can do this on your own, but that's kind of a long way to go about it. Like if you were to, like we've been doing it in the Bigfoot community. This is what we've been doing. We upload them and then we go and we research and see what, go see what we think it is or what it registers as. And this is a different way to go about that, but in a more cohesive kind of way, if we
Now,
can all gather to do it.
Lauren, I want to go to the dark side of this a little bit, though.
Yes.
There's a
Dark
dark
side
side.
has cookies.
There's a dark side to this. I'm serious, and it's something I think we all should be aware of, because this is a growing trend that is starting to be out there. Squatchers are not the only people with audio recorders out there now. Your ecologists, your zoologists, biologists for the game department, things like that, they're using this technology. The law enforcement is using this technology now. They are recording for poaching activities and for illegal trespassing. You know those signs that say no vehicles past this point? They're starting to listen for people actually driving up there. It's not just game cams anymore. They're listening for gunshots, things like that. And now they have the ability to track your location by your sound. I'm dead serious, y'all. I'm not kidding. These are actual.
That puts a crimp in my style.
It does. There's marketing material out there that I just ran across today that was trying to sell this very capability to whoever wanted to buy it.
I do not participate in illicit activities such as trespassing.
No, none of us do. None of us do whatsoever. But I am just saying, they do have it now where it's very easy to do and find out about it 3 or 5 days later. There is the capability to find out about it real time if they want to invest in it. So everybody does. It is a sad fact.
I'm not okay with that.
It's the dark side of all the technology that it's Big Brother in the woods, but it is.
And well, I feel like they already review us with drones and everything and kind of check on us, because I've witnessed it many times myself. So I can't really say that I'm that surprised, but that sucks. Also, Logan, the amount of people that probably have caught me peeing on webcams already, I'm not really worried about it. Honestly,
we've all been there, done that.
I don't even look for them anymore. I feel like if I happen to squat down in front of your webcam, it's your lucky day. Yay for you. I don't know. I don't worry about it. If I was worried about that, I would never be able to go to the bathroom in the woods, because, I already feel like Bigfoot's watching me every time I go. So, but yeah, Logan said they'll probably hear you peeing and track you down based on your stream. So,
they're differentiating crickets.
That's insane. Like different species?
Different species, things like, all of the insect noise that we hear that just becomes this constant drone in the woods. The computers can see the individual species and everything. That's how tight this actually is. That's what I'm saying. I don't think, I really feel like I've not heard anyone in squatching talk about this or talk about, the capabilities. We've all been focusing on staring at spectrograms and trying to do algorithms looking for patterns and things like that. This stuff that's all very old school now.
It really is. And that's why I was so excited when I heard you talk about this. I actually sat up and I was just like, hold on. This is something new. This is something different. This is change that is science-based. So it's not woo. It's not anything like that. It is, this is, we're actually getting out of the rut. I feel like we have a chance to get out of the rut.
You're right. Because
we have to get this information to the masses, though.
Yes, we do. Here's the thing. This gives you the chance to do real science and contribute to it in a legitimate fashion, not be looked at sideways. Because honestly, the goal here isn't looking for a particular animal. The goal here is to capture the whole environment. You're capturing all the animals and wildlife in that environment. And specifically, you're looking for the for the animal life, the natural wood sound. There are technical terms here, and my brain's going blank right now. And there are the anthropogenic sounds, which are the human-created sounds. You're
Yes.
capturing all of them. That is the entire soundscape. Then you're going to put it through a computer, and the computers can sort it out. And depending upon what they're told to look for, is what they'll find. Um, yes, people still have to go in. They have to, double check what the computer's done most of the time. But you can get a lot. I mean, they're doing surveys of populations of birds and bats and foxes and coyotes and wolves just based on their sound.
Yeah.
They know they've got 22 wolves, in this region, and there's 5 of them over here, there's 7 of them over here, and that one's Joe and that one's Bob. They can now tell that much of a difference.
Ryan wants to say hi.
Hi, Ryan. What's up, buddy? There you go.
He said, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" Thank you. You brought me some more tea. Bye, Duke. So the significance of knowing what is going on in an ecosystem, in an environment out there in your research area, specifically whoever is listening to this, is, like I say in my presentation, it's Bigfooting 101. You have to know if that environment can support Sasquatch activity.
That's right.
By analyzing your audio, you're learning what's in that environment, if it's going to be something that a Bigfoot would be there. Also, you could, of course, get potential audio of something that may be Bigfoot, but you're going to learn how populated that area is by humans or by which animals, things of that nature. If there's just tons and tons of gunshots, or just ATVs and UTVs, there's just a lot you can learn from audio that people don't think about.
That's right. There are there's two different theories that this is all based on. One is the acoustic niche hypothesis, and the other one is the acoustic adaptive hypothesis. Okay.
Yeah.
The niche hypothesis says that you have the entire spectrum, and animals want to be heard. So they have evolved over time to where they are at a certain part of the spectrum. A different animal is at a different part of the spectrum. Things like this. So that way they all have their own area. Okay. Mm-hmm. The adaptive hypothesis says that as they change locations one way or the other over time, they would have evolved to find openings that may have been there that weren't done. That is the foundation of all of this science. You can now go in and tell how healthy your ecosystem is in the area you're looking by looking at the holes in your spectrogram. Because there will actually be animals that should be present or used to be present that are no longer vocalizing or not vocalizing in a sufficient capacity.
Yeah.
And it's because, they've wiped out, they're gone or something like that. And that is creating interesting things. But that's the kind of thing you can also learn from doing something like this. So, it's the Bigfoot hunting is incidental to everything else, because the thing you're looking for is to find something that's not recognized. Right. But at the same time, you very well may record something that is not supposed to be there. All of a sudden, next thing you know, you've put it in and are like, oh, wait, we've got this invasive species we didn't know was here. That's still extraordinarily valuable scientific data.
Yeah. So again, we have to do our part with the stipulations that have been set. If we can all do our part to upload that audio, it will all help us all in the future. Right. So having you on the show, that was a big reason I wanted you on the show, is that I wanted you to get this information out to all of my subscribers at least, and hopefully they will consider doing. I mean, most everyone I know has at least a decent recorder, hopefully with the specs on it that you require or they require. And if so, if we can all upload to those parameters, I really think that it will help us all in the long run, and eventually be able to, like you said, in real time. This is the part that got me so excited, because it's like a dream for us. Imagine hearing something in the woods next to your camp and being able to know where it is in a general vicinity near your camp and triangulate it at the same time live and then see what it is or isn't.
That is
I
actually
mean,
that's
a
what
game
we're working
changer.
for. That's where my ultimate goal and focus is. That's what I'm building everything towards. Um, the you I'll put links on my website and on my both my Cryptid Connection website and also on my Facebook group, the Cryptid Connection Facebook group, uh, that will talk about the different recorders. A lot of these recorders actually you can build yourself if you want, or you can order them already built. But a lot of them are based like on Raspberry Pis, if anyone knows what those are, and they're they're very simple, but things your recorders pretty much kind of need, especially if you're going to get an advanced recording at all, is you've got to have a very accurate timestamp. You also have to have location. This means you have to have a GPS chip on or a GPS receiver associated with your recorders.
Everybody jot that down.
Yeah, sorry.
Play that back. Jot that
Spell
down.
the technical terms correctly,
No.
otherwise you're not going to get it correct.
Okay, no, the
I'm
presentation
sorry,
was
a
lot more technical.
Yeah.
And I even knew what was coming because you had told me about it before we got to the symposium, and I still was just kind of like, Mom, jot that down. It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But
and
it's worth it because I really
like
believe this is a game changer.
It's like falling into a brand new rabbit hole. You didn't even know it was there. And then you realize just how out of touch we've been in squatching for a while. And we hadn't, we were we were being passed by, and I think everyone had gotten the community in general got so frustrated with scientists for just scoffing at us and and dismissing people that they didn't pay attention anymore to what was actually going on and what the capability is. And yeah, this is fascinating. There are thousands of papers that have been published just in the last 2 or 3 years that are available online in the scholastic journals and everything else that you can read about, where they talk all about this. A good chunk of them are on birds or bats, but you get them on other animals, wolves, coyotes, things like that, and they'll talk about it. But it's worldwide. This is a new thing, really. It's only been in the last 10 years, really. They've been doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I think like I said, it's a game changer. Mm-hmm. It's funny because we have all this new technology. We have, we've come so far over the years. So when I first started doing this with my mom back in the early 2000s, you had audio recorders. They were on cassette tape recorders, the big kinds. And you had parabolic dishes, of course. That was newfangled technology at the time. Night vision. If somebody had one, it was military grade and it cost an arm and a leg. It was very expensive. We did not have thermal. Over the years, we've gotten better audio equipment. We've gotten better audio programming. I don't even want to know.
I'm laughing at Logan.
I know. I try not to look at him during the chat because I lose my train of thought. We have thermal imaging. We have better audio equipment. We have better audio programs to recognize what we're catching out there. We have all this new technology. Everyone thought when we got thermal imaging, like, this is it. We're going to find them. It's done. Everyone thought when we got drones, like, this is it. We're find them. We're done. And it's so funny because now, like, we're still spinning our wheels. You have a lead on a new way to move forward, and it's audio still.
Right.
It's like audio is the tried and true, and hopefully this is going to do it for us.
I can tell you this. There is, as far as I know, only 1 or 2 projects that are in the Texas-Oklahoma region that are, like researchers, just regular wildlife researchers, whatever, at least publicly, that are doing this. So the world's wide open, and
Mhm.
you know, I mean, anybody can do this. There is an active invitation to any citizen scientist that they, you know, if you want to consider yourself that, you know, they want the data, and
Yeah.
so you know, this is a great opportunity for people to go about, and yeah, and the more you dig into it, the more you're going to get. Now,
Yeah.
that's fresh, whatever his name is. I don't know who that actually is. But they asked if we disguise the audio devices. No, no point to. Even the wildlife biologists and the ecologists know it. They don't. They're just sitting on tripods out in the middle of nowhere with a big fluffy, you know, windsock on it, and that's what they're doing. Uh, your your disguise is distance, because you know sound travels, so you're out of eyesight. That's their idea.
Um,
I have in the past. I've just, I've just
how
stopped.
much? I have a very important scientific question. How much audio do you have of yourself snoring?
Hours, hours, and hours. Um, yeah, I've learned to take my camp recorders and try to put them farther away from camp
Good
because
plan.
I
I think
had
everybody
no
makes that
idea.
rookie
I
mistake.
never believed people saying that I snort. I was like, no, I don't. Yes, I do. I hate to
You
say
wouldn't
it.
even believe me until you heard it.
Oh, it was beyond belief.
My mom, that's how my mother learned that she had um oh my god, what's it called? The where you stop breathing in your
Sleep
sleep.
apnea?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she had sleep apnea. That's how she learned, is that she would set her audio recorder up to record Bigfoot, and then she went back and listened to it, and she was like, "What is that weird creature?" And then finally realized it was her snoring and stopping breathing. She's gonna kill me for saying this. It's fine. But yeah, it that's how she learned that, you know, she had a health condition because of that. So I mean, saves lives. It's fine.
You're right. You're right about.
Um, but yeah, I got him to bust out of his shell a little bit, Logan. So I get props for that.
Well, what do you mean? I'm not in a shell. Logan's in a shell. He's the one that wouldn't even come on here.
Yeah,
Coward.
I know. Yeah, he
If anyone hasn't caught on, we're giving Logan a lot of grief because Logan is the other part of us here. It's
yes,
me, Jennifer, and Logan,
yes,
and we're the ones out there doing this. Yes, we're
yeah.
spooning. Yeah, there is
They
a story
spoon.
about that. There's a
It's a
story.
whole thing.
Yes.
But yes, so Logan, he is the third leg of the tripod there. And so those three plus Stephen and Jen's son Owen, they spend a lot of time out in the woods researching and honestly making awesome memories. Logan is the Beaverhook Productions that you've been talking to there.
Yeah.
So, and Lori worked. Sylvia woke her up at 5 a.m. this morning, so she's in bed already. So, Janelle was asking where she was. So, um, so I was really stoked to bring you on tonight for that specific reason. Like I said, you have something that is bringing us into the future, hopefully, of Bigfoot research, or is at least something exciting to shake things up. I truly believe this has promise. So I'm really excited. I hope that everyone, if you have questions, you can, of course, contact Steven and he will kind of dumb things down for you if you need to, or he can give you, you know, the specifications of what's required. And he will definitely, I mean, I'm assuming that you would share the research that
Yes.
you've already uncovered regarding all
Yeah.
of this.
I was about to say that's one of my sticklers.
That's
is,
one of the points. How are we all going to learn?
That's right.
Yeah.
Everything you got to be transparent and share what you got, and
Yeah.
you know everybody's so busy trying to be the person that finds Bigfoot, and they don't share anything, and that's
Yeah.
very much why we're still where we're sitting.
Yeah, it's kind of counterproductive, honestly.
Cows.
Moo.
Moo.
I was
Inside
told to
joke,
moo at
people.
you.
Inside joke.
I was
Oh.
told to moo. I do what I'm told. I was informed I was to moo. Yeah, but Jeremiah's playing along for sure.
Oh.
But I was very excited, like I said, to have you on tonight, Stephen. Thank you so much for coming on, and Jen, thank you for being there to help him do his very best. Like I said, I heard this presentation at the symposium, and you guys, it really got me excited. I was like, this is something that everyone needs to know about. And so I hope that my show does its part to get that information out there. And I hope that others see this show and get you on their show to disseminate this information. I said disseminate. I would like to point that out. You are an utterly fantastic guest.
Oh
I appreciate you being on here. You're legendary, Stephen.
Yes, I'm wondering about this. Some of these people I've got to know, and I'm just not knowing who they are on the screen names. These are sounding entirely too familiar.
Thank you, Logan. You're amazing. All of my moderators are amazing. Thank you for being here, all of you. Thank you, everybody, for listening tonight. Thank you for supporting Night Callers and for coming on to listen to Stephen and Jen and Logan. Remember to check out cryptidconnection.com. That's connection without an S. Smash that thumbs up, definitely.
You can find our podcast on pretty much any podcast provider. You've got Apple, Spreaker, whatever.
Yes. Yes, definitely. And Logan's not done. We're gonna let...
he's not. He's not.
Stephen, do you exclusively look at cows with thermals?
Only if they're wearing thermal underwear.
Can I just tell you that Ryan and I had to go to Hobby Lobby today for work purposes on our lunch break for work? And they have a whole line of cow paintings. Cows in baths, cows on couches, cows in pastures, cows
It's ridiculous how big cows are getting.
I am so excited. They were very adorable. Very adorable paintings.
Did you
cows on sofas?
Oh my god.
Cows.
No.
All the cows. Yes. Okay. I don't even, Okay, so if you guys have a question again about anything that Stephen talked about, please contact him through cryptidconnection.com. And go check the
Facebook group.
Honestly, or the Facebook group.
Yeah, I was about to say, honestly, I'll tell you, get me faster through the Facebook group.
Yes, definitely. So go join the Facebook group. You guys can catch up. Like they said on their website, it's really geared towards outdoor people. So lots of recipes, lots of gear reviews, all that kind of stuff, along with some Bigfoot thrown in. So you guys go check it out.
It is it's only as good as the amount of people you get on there and contribute.
Yes.
So if you go in there,
yes,
you're started.
Is Facebook still a thing? Unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming on tonight. Hang out, and I'm going to chat with you guys here in just a second, okay?
All righty.
Okay. All right. Thank you both for coming on. All right. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and supporting Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. I really appreciate you all. I appreciate your patience as I work through different phases of life right now and get to Night Callers when I can. I, of course, want to bring you a great show always. And so I did have to call in help to find some guests, but I am back. So I really appreciate y'all's patience. I hope you guys enjoyed this show and stay safe.